If I could go back and sit down with myself before I ever took my very first sales call, before I ever worked for Alex Hormozi, before I ever closed a single deal for Iman, there is a handful of things that I would tell that version of myself that would have saved me months and months of frustration and probably thousands of dollars in lost commissions. And this advice has nothing to do with a secret closing framework or really sales skills at all. I'm talking about the biggest misconceptions that the internet has drilled so deeply into your brain about what high ticket sales actually is before you ever get started. And this Instagram advice or Instagram marketing is the silent killer. And because I've trained and managed over 100 reps that have earned double that in a single year, I know that those average salesperson, they're not stuck because they suck at sales. They fail because they walked in with improper expectations from day one. And once those expectations don't match reality, they quit. So if you're thinking about getting into high ticket sales, or maybe you just got started and something feels off, do yourself a favor and watch this video all the way through. Reason being, I'm about to break down the biggest misconceptions about high ticket sales that set people up to fail before they ever take their very first call. And more importantly, I'll tell you what's actually true, that way you could walk in with proper expectations from day one. Hopefully this helps. Misconception number one, and probably the thing that pisses me off the most, is this notion, this idea that you could get into sales and just work a couple hours a day and get rich overnight. And listen, I get it. I understand where it comes from. I mean, if you scroll on Instagram and TikTok, you'll see all these different marketers talking about, oh, you could work 2 hours a day and make $30,000 a month and travel the world. And listen, I mean, I did sales and still do sales, and I have a pretty nice dollhouse there in the background, but it was a lot of work to make good money with sales. I'll use my story as an example. My biggest months in commission, making $40,000, $50,000 a month consistently, were also the months where I worked the most hours that I ever have in my life. I'm talking about 7 days a week. Monday through Friday, 10 to 12 hour days, Saturday and Sunday. I'll do part-time days on Saturday and Sunday, but still 4 to 6 hours a day on each day on the weekends. But hey, on the other side of those long hours was a $40,000 or $50,000 commission check, right? I mean, I remember having pep talks with myself all the time saying, Alex, stick with this. You're earning really good money. If you do this for just 6-7 months, you are gonna put yourself in a really good spot financially to, reinvest back into yourself or possibly get out of sales if you want to. And so no, working a couple hours a day and making, even $15,000 a month with sales, I see it as impossible. And hey, if you are on a roll, if you know a role where you could do that, send it to me, because I will jump on it and I will start closing for their team. But I just don't see it as possible. And I would argue from what I've seen in the space that if a company is willing to hire you for a couple hours of work a day, it's probably a really shit role that you wouldn't want to sell on in the first place. But I'm not saying this to scare you. I just want to make sure that you walk in with proper expectations, right? And hold on to this as well. I've always told everybody that gets into sales, or people that I train or manage, that the purpose of sales, it's not to be selling for the rest of your life. It's to, build your foundation on a really good skill and use it as a vehicle to stack as much cash as possible in a short period of time. That way you could take that money, reinvest it back into yourself, and get out of sales and do something bigger. Invest in real estate, start buying stocks, whatever it is, start a business. But I need to make sure that you have proper expectations, because if not, and you start a role and you expect by month 2, you should be earning $30,000 a month with just a couple hours a day, I mean, you're gonna be disappointed. And not only that, that disappointment is gonna lead you to quitting something that can make you life-changing money as long as you stick with it. And so yeah, that is the truth. High ticket sales, it can make you a lot of money. It does take a little bit of time. Your expectation should be making 10K a month by month 4, right? Your first 3 months, you're probably gonna eat shit and make $5,000 to $9,000 a month, and that's okay. Yes, it doesn't happen overnight, and it does happen when you show up consistently, when you put in the reps, and when you treat it like a real career. Yeah, how about that? Stop treating stuff like, side hustles, like everything you've ever done. But I will say this on the flip side, the opportunity is there, and if you're willing to stick with it for 6 months, it is 100% worth it. That kind of sacrifice could put you in a position that, most people can never reach. Like I said, you could stack some serious cash and reinvest it back into yourself and, do something bigger in the future, or use your skill set to start a business, to manage sales teams, to train reps, or whatever it is. But that is only gonna happen if you understand what it actually takes, instead of thinking that, by week 3, you're gonna be making a ton of money and, sipping cocktails by the beach. Now, misconception number 2 is that, high ticket sales is not a real job. Now, this one is sneaky because it doesn't really sound like a misconception at first. And reason being is because a lot of people get into high ticket sales because they feel like they're running away from something. They hate their 9 to 5, they hate their boss, they hate the commute, the cubicle, the coworkers, all of it. And listen, I totally get that. That was me. But when that happens, they carry this mindset of like, I'm done with real jobs and I'm done with working a job. And then they bring that into their sales role. And I'm sorry to tell you, you get a lot of freedom with high ticket sales. You get to control your schedule. You could travel if you want to. You could take advantage of currency arbitrage. I mean, I know and have so many sales reps that I train that are from the United States. They're making good money. They live in Colombia, right? They live in Argentina. They live in different parts of Europe where they could take advantage and pay a lot less money and live in a really nice area. But sales is still a job. You're still trading your time for money at the end of the day. And so if you go in with the mindset that you're done with jobs and done with working real jobs in the first place, it's just gonna set up false expectations with sales and cause you to show up late to calls or skip your team meetings. I mean, that's literally the only thing that you need to show up that's mandatory daily with sales is like one team meeting that's maybe 30 minutes or an hour. Or it's gonna cause you to think that, everything's just gonna fall into place by itself. You do not want to become a fat, lazy salesperson. That is a terminology that sales managers will use for salespeople who just want everything handed to them on a silver platter. No one wants to deal with a salesperson who thinks that just because they don't really have a manager or somebody breathing down their neck, that they could just coast. Like I said, there's a lot of benefits to high ticket sales. I mean, the biggest one for me was the flexibility with my schedule, right? I mean, you probably know if you've seen any videos of mine, I have or if you don't see the damn dollhouse in the background here, I do have a 5-year-old daughter, so that was a cool thing for me. I could just bend my schedule to my will. But the money doesn't just show up with the snap of your finger. I mean, it does require you to get on a 30 or 45-minute Zoom call, have a conversation with someone, get the deal closed, take payment, and then onboard that client, right? And if you're really pushing like me, after you do that one call, you probably got 6 or 7 other calls that you need to hit for the rest of your day. The people that I've seen do the best in the space are people who treat their sales role with more discipline than they ever treated a traditional job. They show up early, they review their calls, they, sometimes invest in themselves for sales training or sales books or coaching or whatever it is. They role play on weekends, they know their numbers cold. And that's why they're the ones who are bringing home, $20, $30, $40,000 a month in commission, while everybody else is wondering like, what the hell am I doing wrong? But discipline and skill, they're not the only things that matter. There's something else that a lot of people miss, and that is 100% the reason why they give up in the first few weeks. You see, any kind of sales job, it is hard work. You gotta go through a training, you gotta memorize scripts, you gotta do a full conversation and dance and snap your fingers to get the deal closed. But most people think once they have that skill set locked in, the money will start flowing. And in some ways they're right, but that's not the whole picture. I've said this before and I will say it till my eyes bleed, till my ears bleed, right? Till my dollhouse in the background falls apart. The company and the offer that you work and you sell for matters just as much as your skill set. I'll give you an example. I have I hate student, right? A sales rep, right? That I trained, I placed her into multiple roles. She's crushing it now, selling for a very, very big influencer, right? But her name is Victoria, blonde girl, colored eyes from Florida. You'll see her on my YouTube page. I have an interview with her. She went on 3 sales roles. First one she was on, she found before she ever met me, and it was a in-person medical device sales role. Horrible, right? We got her out of that. We put her into a real estate offer. She started doing decently well in a real estate offer. I think she was earning like 8 to 12K a month. Anyways, a team kept contacting me that they wanted a girl salesperson, and the offer was doing really well. So Victoria immediately came to mind. I got her on that new role, and within 30 days, nothing changed, right? I mean, meaning her skill set. 30 days, she was making 8 to 12K a month on one role. We got her on another role. Within a month or two, she was earning almost 20K a month and was the top rep on the team. Skill set never changed. So yeah, I mean, she made one move, right? She just switched to a better offer that I helped find for her. It was the wing girl method. It was a dating offer, which if you're watching this, you're probably like, what the hell, dating offer? Yes, dating offers do well in the space. It's always, the odd ones that do well. But with that one move of switching to an offer with better marketing and a better product, I mean, she pretty much doubled her commission within 60 days without getting better at sales. And I've seen the opposite happen too, right? I've seen really talented closers take interviews for small startup companies, and their manager must be good at sales because they close those sales reps to go work for their little startup company. Guys that I know could be raking and making a ton of money, and they're barely making any cash, bringing home 5, 6, 7K a month, and they quit within their first couple months. You know, no amount of skill could fix a breaking offer. You don't want to jump into a sinking ship, right? If you're rowing a boat down a river, you want to flow with the current, not against the current. That was a good one right there, with the current, not against the current. I just came up with that. Now, there's one more misconception I need to hit, so I'm gonna jump into it. Number 4 is that sales is something that you'll do forever, right? And I just spoke about this a little bit earlier. I think that the purpose of sales is to get out of sales. And I will say this, I do know sales sharks, right? Shout out to Mike, if you're watching this, you know who you are, Mike, right? Sales sharks, meaning people who will just sell for the rest of their life. They eat and they breathe it, they love it, right? And that's cool, but I think a majority of people that get into sales probably don't wanna be in it for the rest of their life. And like I said, the purpose of sales isn't to sell for the rest of your life, it's to make as much money as humanly possible and reinvest back into yourself and get out of sales. So yeah, before you think I'm gonna say something negative about getting into sales, the sales space, I mean, hear me out. I love it. I mean, I obviously have a whole YouTube about sales here, but I mean, it taught me everything. It gave me the ability to communicate. It taught me how to handle pressure, how to read people, how to manipulate my girlfriend. I'm kidding. And more than anything, it taught me to be disciplined, right? I really do think sales is a game of self-development. I've noticed this the past 6 years. It's really, really weird. The best sales reps that I have seen on every single team, the top earners, they're also the most dialed human beings that I've ever met. Routine-based individuals and people that they live up to their word. You know, whatever is important to them and that's gonna make them feel fulfilled and make them feel like they grew and got 1% better that day, they have that scheduled in their calendar and they stay disciplined and get those things done. And Mike is one of those guys. Actually, just go follow Mike. Look on my Instagram, I follow him, Mike Jurassic. Absolute sales shark, stud, learned a lot from him. So here's the thing, high ticket sales is a pure profit opportunity. There's no inventory, there's no overhead. You know, you don't need to worry about fulfilling clients or making sure people are happy. Your income is tied directly to how hard you work on the offer that you sell. And what that means is if you could go all in for 6 months, for a year, and save every single dollar that you can put yourself in a position that most people can never reach. You could save enough money to do your own thing, to buy assets. You know, do whatever your version of freedom looks like. But too many people get into sales with no real exit plan, including myself. I didn't have an exit plan at first. And you know, that just creates a path of unfulfillment. I'll give you another fact too, right? If you ever get inside of a sales slump, for me and any sales reps that I manage, 99% of the time, it's not because you gotta get better at something inside of your sales call. It's because you don't have a bigger vision of where sales is supposed to take you. Because it is a grind. It is a lot of work, right? I mean, I just explained the hours that I was working for my big months, and it's easy to get lost in the sauce. If you don't understand where you want to end up, those day-to-day steps and day-to-day grind that you do as a salesperson, it becomes unfulfilling. So if you're getting into high-ticket sales, go in with a plan. I mean, there's a girl that I just started training. Her name is Amone. Really smart girl from South Africa. She's in China for medical school, and she just got into sales a couple months ago. She's doing pretty well. And her reason and her plan for getting into sales is because she wants to create a biomedical technology that will allow children to never need to replace some heart monitor. I don't know. It's really cool, the plan. I apologize. But she has this thing planned to a T, right? She showed me her entire chart. She needs to be making around 17K a month for the next 3 years. That's gonna give her enough cash to dump her money into this startup to create this medical device that will save a ton of children's lives. And I think that's awesome, right? I mean, I even told her on the first call that we ever had was, you know, hey, this is honestly really cool and this is gonna help you a lot because sales is a grind and this is really gonna make this path fulfilling for you and remind you on a daily basis why you're doing this in the first place. So set a number, set a timeline, and create an exit plan that suits you. And then treat those big commission months as fuel for whatever comes next. And that's the real power for this career. Not that you get to sell forever, but that it could give you a launch pad to do whatever you want after sales. So let me bring this full circle. Okay, high ticket sales, it's not easy. It can be a shortcut, right? But it's not gonna be something that gets you rich overnight necessarily. And more importantly, it's not something, in my opinion, that you need to stick to for the rest of your life. But here's what it is. It is the single best opportunity that I found for somebody with zero connections, zero capital, zero skill set, zero talent to jump into and completely change their financial situation, as long as you walk in with the right expectations. Now, if you're watching this and you're actually hungry to make this work, I do have a free 5-hour training. It should pop up somewhere on the screen here, and it goes over everything that you need to know to not only land a high-paying, high-ticket remote sales role, but also all the frameworks, all the scripts, all the things that I use to close millions of dollars of deals in sales. By the way, I do have a sales training and placement company. That's literally what we do. Originally, I started this as like, hey, how could we get salespeople that are already earning $10,000 or $15,000 a month and help them double, triple, quadruple their commissions? What I learned over time is most sales reps aren't even on a sales role that has that type of earning capacity. So we do also help with placement. If that's something that you're interested in, click the link in the bio, send me a DM on Instagram, book a call. We're here to help. If you have questions, let me know. Hopefully this helped. And as always, once you learn to sell, you will never starve. Thanks.